What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Tobias of the Almighty Vomitory. It is great to be able to talk with you. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, man.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime. All Heads Are Gonna Roll is the new album, and most certainly all heads are gonna roll when the rest of the world hears this. This album is absolutely epic. Well, with the making of this album, was the intention to just sort of like a pick up where you left off after Opus Mortis, or was this meant to sort of signify like a new beginning for Vomitory?
A little bit of both, I would say. I mean, we haven't done any major changes in our sound, but still, there is a difference from our previous album in terms of how we wrote the songs and I think it's. In a way, I would say that all heads are going to roll is a little bit step back to the roots, or not really roots, but rather around the era around Blood Rapture, Primal Massacre. Early 2000s.
Oh,
I would say.
is there any throwback to Raped in Their Own Blood in a way, or is that too much of a throwback?
Maybe that's too much of a throwback, but yeah, but I mean, there's still some how you say it. I mean, we're still connected to that area as well, I think.
Yeah, you can never forget your roots. Being that this was the first album since 2011, so quite a long time. I was still in high school when the last Vomitory album came out. What were you kind of like? Was the songwriting approaching it from a clean slate in a way, or being that you were kind of looking backwards a little bit, it did almost kind of like feel like you were using sort of like a similar toolbox, and it didn't really feel like too much time has passed.
Well, I think we did it more or less, or at least we started more or less like we always do. You always have some stuff laying around that's never got used. Some riffs are quite a few years old that all of a sudden has its place within a song. But yeah, we started with a clean slate, and but we're trying to not complicate things too much. I feel that maybe we did that on Opus Mortis 8 a little bit. So we wanted to keep it a little bit more simple in a way. Still, of course, very intense and brutal and straightforward and so on. So
Um, when it comes to the making of any Vomitory album, does it ever start off with sort of like a preconceived vision in a way, or is your songwriting process more experimental and a very improvisational process?
uh, I would say it's not. Well, with this album, I think we had a we had some sort of vision how we wanted it to be. Well, of course, we always have a vision how we want it to be, but we were more uh, earlier. I think we were more left. Things happened more by accident
Mhm.
in the past than it did this time around. We were more aware of what we wanted to do. I think one thing in particular that we decided early on was that we were going to try to make stronger choruses in the songs, make them um, more recognizable uh, than we had done in the past. And that I think that's something that we managed pretty well with.
Being between Opus Mortis 8 and now, you also put out two records with Cut Up. Did that maybe also teach you some new things that you could have brought to the Vomitory table?
Yeah, maybe. Well, probably. Um, at least some, you know, it happens subconsciously. because it's an experience that you have, and some way I think it inspired at least me in some way to when I wrote some songs. Also, we on this album we worked a lot more on backing vocals than we did earlier on. So, and that I think that's something that Eric brought with him from Cut Up, being one of the lead vocalists of Cut Up as well.
But being such a prolific artist, between playing with Cyrus, God Macabre, the Project Hate, and so many other projects, which I know you also put out two Project Hate albums in between the last Vomitory record and now too. Does that at all? Is it a different creative process depending on what project you're playing with, or is it a very is there a method behind the madness that sort of almost applies to everything?
No, it's different from time to time, of course. Vomitory is special in the way that I compose most of the music in the band, and as for Cut Up, for instance, I didn't write maybe 10 or 20% of the music. Every band and every project is different. I feel that for Vomitory, many times I feel that I don't have enough time to work on the drum parts before it's time to record, because I'm so busy with writing and recording demos and so on. But yeah, it works out pretty good anyway.
Yeah.
I think.
As the drummer, have you always preferred to have music present before you would lay down your own part, or has a drum pattern maybe helped dictate how the rest of the song would go?
Both actually. Sometimes when I'm just sitting behind the drums and improvising, I can play some beats, and all of a sudden, a riff turns up in my head, and I get an idea. So that can be a start of a new song. It starts with playing the drums, or I play the guitar, and the other way around. So.
A lot of people say I've had this discussion with a couple of drummers to disregard this, but some people assume because drums don't have melody in it, it's not a very emotional instrument and that it's all technical. But I completely disagree. Is there a lot of emotion that you're channeling into your instrumentation?
It is anger and I don't know. Well, but of course it's an emotional instrument. Maybe not in extreme metal, because it's only one emotion, and it's aggression. But I mean other musical genres. It's just as an emotional instrument as any other instrument, I think.
When aggression is the main, your main energy that you're channeling into it, do you have to sort of get that aggressive energy before you get behind the kit in a way, or does that aggression just come when you sit down and start playing?
It comes when I sit down and start playing, especially at live shows, because then you're fired up. You have the audience and excited to go up there and play. So
is it difficult to replicate that in the studio when you don't have the audience and with you? Do you have to almost kind of cultivate that in its own in a different way?
Yeah, it can be very difficult, because being aggressive in the studio doesn't have many advantages. When things start to go bad in the studio, you play a shitty take, or you're making the same mistake over and over. when you get frustrated and angry because of that, and that's how I am. I get frustrated and angry, and that doesn't exactly make me play better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good to save the aggression and for the stage.
Well, I'd imagine that when you have to do multiple takes, maybe that's a way. Like, maybe it's better when you have to do multiple takes because you get angrier with each one, and then you really capture it. Like,
Yeah,
is-
we used to do that when Eric was putting down the vocals. When he was getting angry and frustrated, that's when he was starting to sound his best. So sometimes when we were in the past, when we were in the studio while he was recording vocals, you could tell him like, dude, that doesn't sound very good, or try to make him pissed off, because we knew that if we got pissed off, then he's going to sound great.
well, I know some. There's some bands I know where they like have the news playing while they're writing or something like that, just so they could get pissed off anytime they need to. Uh,
Good idea.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Igor Cavalera that when they were on the Roots tour, they said, "Yeah, we usually watch the news right before we play, so we get real pissed off and then let it all out on stage." So,
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for another kick-ass Vomitory album. Definitely worth the wait. Just with the release of All Heads Are Gonna Roll, what else would you like to promote in terms of shows coming up, or what else we could be expecting from Vomitory?
Um, well, after the album has been released, we're going to do a bunch of summer festivals in Europe, and then in September, as it looks now, we're going on a full European tour for a month in September. And then we're playing in Mexico in November at Mexico Metal Fest I think it's in Monterrey. And then there will also maybe be an Asian tour in November. But that's not quite set yet.
Any,
But, yeah, there
any,
will be more shows added. I'm pretty sure of that, and we will continue to play live during next year as well. And yeah, we're playing the U.S. again for the first time since 2000 and what is it, 7, I think. Yeah, we've only played one show in the U.S. so far. That was at Maryland Death Fest in 2007. So we're playing at Maryland Death Fest in Baltimore again next year.
Hell yeah! And please
So,
come to New York. We got to get a full U.S. tour.
yeah, that would be amazing. That's a kind of a, like a childhood dream to do a tour in the U.S.
Yeah,
That would be amazing. We'll see what happens.
yeah. When Emperor announced their first U.S. tour, I was like hoping that with an opener that they would bring a band that either never came to the U.S. or hasn't played the U.S. in a long time. And you guys were like my top choices to be on that opening tour. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, that would have been amazing.
yeah, that Vomitory Emperor would be absolutely amazing. But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Vomitory. All Heads Are Gonna Roll. Be sure to pick that up via Metal Blade Records. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.